Hi, I'm Christina.
And I'm Matt.
And this is New Ways Podcast. Today, the topic of conversation is community.
Yep.
So we're talking about community for a multitude of reasons, but mainly because this week in LA, not this week, but like the past few weeks, I don't know, when did it start?
2 weeks ago?
Okay, so like 2 weeks ago, a fire broke out in LA. And since then, we were just really inspired by the outreach and the communities that came together. So we're going to talk about community in this episode, our experience a little bit with the fire, as well as why community is important and how to kind of find your own. So getting kind of into it right now, Matt, how do you feel about the past 2 weeks living here in LA and just kind of the chaos that's been happening with the fires?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hit communities in a variety of ways. Not only of the communities directly affected by the fires, but definitely the communities on the, outskirts and surrounding areas, because a lot of people not only lost homes, but lost jobs. And there's been a lot of displacement and a lot of irregularity now in people's lives. And it's caused a lot of, negative emotions and negative energies and a lot of really, deep internal feelings. And so trying to work with that has been difficult for people because they often, people love living life when, there's not this insane...
When your life's ideal.
When your life's ideal, right? And there's not insane amounts of chaos. And so how do we be able to create sort of that, how do we be able to thrive in that chaos, per se?
Or honestly, just make it through the day without breaking down.
Truly.
Yeah.
Truly. And so...
Or with breaking down. Who knows? Allow yourself to do it.
I mean, I break down about once a day. So,
yeah.
Everyone to their own. But yeah, I think that has been one of the hardest things that I've seen. A lot of like the communities and the people and how they go through things. So...
Yeah, I completely agree with all that. But back to kind of my original question, I do agree with you that this has been a tragedy for so many people. We are blessed that we did not lose our homes, and that some people have lost memorabilia from multiple generations. They've lost their homes from multiple generations. Like you said, they lost jobs. But how did it impact you? Because regardless of, okay, yes, you still have your house, but we do live in this community. And there is energy, and you do interact with people who have been drastically affected. So how are you feeling is my question.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely was affected by sort of the energy shift that a lot of us are feeling with this. And, that has, affected clients of mine. That's also affected, the schools that I've worked at as well. And how people sort of, go about their day-to-days. And so being able to hold space for that as a therapist now, that's been heavy. That's been hard, and a lot of people are feeling those emotions and a lot of people are feeling those things. And, they come to you or, they seek help in ways that I'm very fortunate are healthy, but that has been one of the, the biggest changes so far that I've personally experienced from this.
Yeah.
What about yourself though? Because I know you're a nurse and you've had a lot go on. So
thankfully the hospitals are not too overwhelmed with like smoke inhalation.
Good.
I can only imagine what like the firefighters are going to go through or potentially like long-term effects versus short-term effects. But thankfully the hospitals haven't been too overwhelmed where I work at least. I would say that I was more affected when I came home from my vacation to a city that was burning down.
Yeah.
That affected me more than like me going into the hospital. If anything, as rough as my job can be sometimes and the stuff that I see, I have to count my blessings every single day that I am at least there to help.
Yeah.
So like that's something where like, especially in times of crisis, I thrive because I'm like, at least I know this is the part that I can contribute. You know what I mean? And that's something that a lot of people can't. So I feel blessed to possess those skills. And once again, too, I don't want to like make it seem like my story is worse than others because it's not. But once again, like influence is influence, pain is pain, emotions are emotions. So my heart does go out to those people who have lost so much. But as you know, I came home from Bali, turned on my phone after a 20-hour flight to multiple text messages, many from Matt, saying, do not go home. Your building's been evacuated. The fire's in Runyon. It's in your backyard. And when I was on the plane and I read that, I don't think it hit really. I was like, what the heck is going on? Because when I left Bali like 20 hours ago, it was just in the Palisades. From all my knowledge, it was a regular fire and it was going to be out within hopefully 24, 48 hours.
Yeah.
So that was just crazy. And then all of a sudden my mind goes to like, not even my stuff. Oddly enough, it was like, I at least have to go home to get my car so I have transportation. And I'm just like, what is going on? I text people in my building too to make sure they're safe. And just landing to chaos, coming from a peaceful place to that, I didn't have any transition. That's what took the biggest toll on me, is I was coming finally home, because home's a sacred place to a lot of people, including me. It's a place where you feel safe, right? And as much as I feel safe traveling, nothing actually beats sleeping in your own bed and being in your own place. I land from being on a plane and in a foreign country for a month to I cannot go home. And to me, that completely wrecked my nervous system for the ongoing week. It lingered with me for a week.
Yeah.
Not to mention landing and also being at your house with multiple other people who are stressed out. Like you watch the TV and it's just fire everywhere. So I'm just like, this is like chaos and detrimental on like the nervous system. But one thing that in my Uber driving to my place to get my car, which I probably shouldn't have done, you guys, but I am who I am.
I advised against
Yes,
it.
you did. But that's what I find.
Cars are replaceable.
They are. But in my mind, too, I'm like, I know the firefighters are right there because my backyard is running. They are going to be right in front of my place. They will tell me if it's safe to go in or not.
Yeah.
I do like to think that I'm a superhuman, but I'm not stupid. Anyways, so I do assess the situation. What I just melted my heart so much, though, was when I landed and the days to come, how many text messages I had, how much outreach I had just from like little old me in a place that I was thankfully back at my home the next day. But I'm like, it melted my heart landing and reading all these messages from people just reaching out, being like, are you okay? Come here, come there, please stay with me. To me, I was just like, I didn't even know I had that many people who cared about me that deeply. So that to me was what was beautiful about this, is like in times of crisis, though, a lot of times you do get to see the beauty that is often overlooked so many times on a daily basis. So that's what I felt just extremely blessed for, despite like the chaoticness, is that, I mean, and even though it seemed like honestly an apocalypse at one point when I went with Sam and his neighbors like guarding their street from potential looters with like a shovel. And I'm like, what is going on?
Props to him.
Yeah, but that's what I mean though. He's like, everybody expresses caring in a certain way. And I'm like, that's still a good neighbor, man.
Yeah.
He saw Sam and he's like, oh, I know you. Like, you can go through, but I'm not letting any other car through. And I'm like, people show they care in different ways. And even if you don't agree with the way they care, that doesn't mean that it's not like coming from a good place and beneficial.
Yeah.
You know? So speaking of communities though, what is your opinion then on kind of how we've came together since? Because once again, I said, don't get me wrong, this is a tragedy. Places that we've been before, we will never be able to go see the same again. But it's so beautiful how we've seen kind of things come together. So what's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that we have seen, in LA so far is just the outreach.
So much.
Outpour of financial, assistance, food assistance, clothing assistance, time, lodging, everything. Literally, if you have been displaced by the fire, there was an organization there to help you within 24, 48 hours. And I think that was something that was incredible, where, I would see tragedies, happen when I was living in either Oklahoma, due to weather-related, tornadoes, or if I was living, in, Montana or whatever. And the biggest thing that I would see time and time again, where you would see tragedies or you'd see these huge events happen in communities, and you'd see like one or two foundations.
Really?
Or you would see, yeah, I mean, like, The Oklahoma one is a little different because that, we've had, obviously we're very prepared for tornadoes. But I think that one huge thing is that, like, to see thousands of people in LA all come together for like the same food drive or the same clothing drive and just donate everything that they could was just so incredible to witness and so incredible to see. And I cannot like be more thankful to the people and who they are. And that is because also too is like, I feel like LA gets such a bad rep for being individualistic, for being, self-centered, for, and that's, it's just like, oh, it's a dog eat dog world. It's the entertainment world. It's whatever. But at the end of the day, like, we were there for each other. And that was really beautiful to see. And like you had mentioned before, I had so many people also reach out to me. People I haven't talked to in years just sent me a quick text. Are you okay? Yeah. And you would not believe how powerful that was and felt to have someone just ask, are you good?
Yeah.
I'm like, thank God.
Yeah.
I am. And I'm very grateful for that. So that was such a beautiful, beautiful moment on a multitude of levels.
Yeah. Like I said, once again, this is a tragedy, but to see how many people, like, there was a lot of places where even like, please don't donate anymore. Yeah. We are so overwhelmed. We have so many like water, so many clothes, so many this, so many that. Like, save it for another day or go to this other one. I'll redirect you. I saw everybody everywhere donating their time, which is a lot. Yeah. I have a friend who volunteers at animal shelters, and he went to the shelter to like, what is it called? Not adopts, but foster a dog. Again, because he does it like every so often. And he's like, there were no dogs at the shelter. Everybody came to foster a dog because they wanted to help in one way or another. And I'm like, that is so beautiful. It just made my heart sing. At the same time, in my mind, I'm like, can we please remember to do this when there is not a tragedy and just do this on a daily basis?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it does kind of like, I'm not saying sucks, but like, this shows we are capable of doing it. Yeah. Let's choose to show up every single day and not when just a tragedy strikes, But I do think that was incredibly beautiful. And I just want to encourage people also. So I learned this from my really good friend, Sid Malia. Shout out, Sid. When I first moved to LA, he was one of my first friends, and he's introduced me to such a beautiful community since then. But he invited me to spend Thanksgiving with him, my first Thanksgiving in LA, because I had really nobody to spend Thanksgiving with. Not out of like petty, but we were just friends at that point. He's like, if you're just going to be alone, come with me. And we volunteered at a homeless shelter for Thanksgiving. And I'm like, okay, it opens at this time. Let's go at this time. He's like, no, we're not going to do that. I'm like, why wouldn't we do that? People always show up in the beginning because they're like, I want to put my best foot forward. I'm going to show up, help these people. Nobody ever stays at the end to help clean up after. And that's something that I learned, and I try to remember in things like this too, that like I get, and it's so beautiful how you want to take action right away, right? Like, I'm so grateful and it's so amazing, but please remember in the upcoming months from now also, when the devastation that's lingering right now starts to fade away and people do go back to their normal lives, or the fight or flight mode isn't in effect anymore, please remember that there are still people out there that need your help. And like, be the one who also shows up after, not just in the moment. Yeah. So I think that's also like a valuable thing to hopefully take away from this, is because that's what I hope to do too. Like, keep continuing to check on your friends, make sure okay. Because like, yes, like houses and stuff can be rebuilt, but like it takes time a lot of times for your emotions to come back up or like mourn that loss. Yep. You know what I mean? So that's just my opinion on the community. And also it proves though too that like, this might be a little off topic, but the fact that so many people came together so fast, it just shows what a force of nature we are, and that we can actually come together and support each other. And a nation together is a lot more powerful than a nation divided and against each other.
Yeah.
So that's just what I want everybody to keep in mind moving forward also, is like, we're capable of doing this. That proved it, that we can support one another regardless of our beliefs and where we come from.
Absolutely.
So like, it's possible.
Yeah, keep that in mind the next 4
doing
years.
it. Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean though. I'm sorry, but like,
Yeah.
you keep people distracted and inferior against each other. Our voices get smaller, but when we're together, they get louder. So that's just one takeaway that I took from it too. So yeah, just extremely grateful. And then what do you think, besides this tragedy, the importance of community is then? Because there's people out there that aren't impacted like we are by these types of things, and some are. But why do you think people need community?
Well, I think the biggest thing that we often talk about in community is that community surrounds yourself with like-minded people. And community can also surround yourself with people who may see different views as you.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to be a part of something bigger than yourself gives you the opportunity to grow.
Definitely.
So I think that when I look at community, it comes down to not only, your family, right? The people who are your bloodline, but also too, it's your chosen family and the people you choose to spend your time with, and the importance of spending your time with those people. And so a lot of times, and I would love your thoughts on this, is kind of, how do you find those chosen people? How do you find those sort of chosen family members? You said that, Sid came into your life, became a great friend very fast. How did you go about cultivating a friendship with someone that was able to introduce you to a new community here in LA?
Oh man. There's so many different avenues, I feel like, is how I've made friends. Like I know that's kind of where we wanted to get to towards the end, but it was genuinely like me coming to LA was me stepping into who I was. So it's like knowing who you are, being curious, being open, listening to your heart, finding out what resonates with you is like how you find those types of communities. And the reason why those types of communities are so important though is because like before coming out here and finding myself, like I felt extremely alone and extremely lost. And like it is kind of just like a basic human need. Like community needs, and also before coming out here too, and I still do believe this, but I don't like it, is I don't need anybody, right? And I don't need anybody. I want people, but like, no, I actually do need people. I still struggle with it because that's what was ingrained in me. Yeah. Community is so important because we do need people. And I feel like a lot of times people think I'm good by myself.
Yep.
But right off the bat, community does meet two of your basic human needs, which is a sense of security, because once again, there is power in numbers. If something were to ever happen to you, God forbid, it's a lot easier to cope with it when you know you have somebody who's going to be there for you when you're down. You know what I mean? And then it also, isolation, like feeling wanted, is a human need. So the need to like feel loved and love somebody else, regardless if it's that, like that doesn't have to be romantic, it can be your community, like that's a basic human need. So we do need people. So like that's what I wanted to kind of talk about in this podcast. It's like, please, like, you don't have to be around people all the time, but go searching for a community if you feel like you don't have one. But that's the thing, it was stepping into myself to getting that community.
Also, it's okay to rely on people.
Oh, completely.
Which is a huge deal.
Yeah, but
no one talks about that enough. Like, you're like, oh, I got to do it on my own.
Where do you think, why do you think we got to that point?
I think that there's a sense of pride. There's also ego too, where people do feel like I've gotten this far on my own. I don't need anyone.
Mm-hmm. But why, like, I'm always so fascinated. I'm like, because this hasn't always been the way. You look back in history and we essentially all started as tribes, and a tribe is community, right? Like that was literally the basic foundation of how everything got built. When did we get to a point where everyone's like, no?
Ooh. I mean, if you look at society, it's definitely become individualistic.
Yeah, but how?
Well, I think honestly, not to get political, but capitalism's a big one. We don't focus on the people around us. We only focus on making our dollar amount.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing.
Scarcity, I feel like that.
Scarcity
that's
mindset.
Something that's been programmed into us, is like, there's never enough. You have to take care of But that's like, there's enough.
Yeah.
I talk about this all the time, you guys, but once again, everything in this world is essentially made up. And like one other person's opinion of the world does not have to be yours. But I do get that, where it's like I was even raised like, and it does serve its purpose in certain moments, but like, you're tough. You've got this. Like,
Also values and standards.
I'm like, I don't want to have this all the time, man.
Yeah, I don't want to have to be tough all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to feel like I need to conquer the world every single moment. Sometimes I'd like to lay on the floor and cry. And that's okay too.
Yeah, I do that.
I did that today in your apartment. Immediately, I didn't even say hi to you. I just walked right in. I laid face first on your couch.
Oh, I know. You just walked and you grabbed the pillow, hugged the pillow, face planted on the couch. I'm like, Matt, are you okay?
And I was,
do you need what? There's a water in the fridge. Do you need snacks?
I was like, I have a headache. And people can, say, oh, that's being weak or whatever. But at the end of the day, I was being honest. Like, I was tired.
Yeah.
I had a very early morning. I had a very long day and I was tired. And it's okay to feel that. And it's okay to tell people.
Yeah.
And I think that comes back to the ideology of community as a whole, is that being honest with people and being honest with yourself. Because when you choose to live life strictly individually, you cut yourself the opportunity to be something new and be something bigger than yourself.
Oh, completely. It gets lonely.
It does.
And like I realized too, and then I feel like our programming from childhood a lot of times feels like we have to be set in one way, right? Like we feel like our identity is formed from the second we hit like 5, 6, or 7, right? When we actually start to think and like everything around us is who we are.
Yeah.
But I realized that me being alone at one point, isolating myself and feeling like I didn't need community and I was always going to be okay was like a survival mechanism I learned as a child. But that took me as an adult kind of like stepping back to see I'm like, what's working for me, what's not? Is this really who I am? So that's the thing is now a majority of people listening, I'm sure, are adults. You get to choose who you can be now. And once again, something that I hold firmly is always questioning myself. Does this belong to me or does it belong to somebody else? Because once again, there is actually like even the laws in you do have to abide by some things. I don't want to get crazy here. Yep. There are things that we will get reprimanded for in this world. But a majority of things in this world are made up by somebody else. It does not have to belong to you. That does not have to be your identity the rest of your life. And the second where I decided I'm done being the person that I needed to be when I was younger to survive, or the person that somebody else made me to be, is the second I got so much love, light, and community in my life. Everything just naturally kind of gravitated to me. And I literally, like, the past few weeks, I had to pinch myself. I'm like, when I was younger, never did I ever think that I would actually have the amount of people reaching out to me or the connection with them that I thought I would have.
Truly.
So I do believe that in order to get your community, you do have to first know yourself, because how are you going to get to know other people if you don't know yourself first?
Yeah, absolutely. And also too, one of the biggest things when getting to know yourself, you don't owe anyone an explanation for anything.
Yeah, no.
I will say that again. And it's true for the people in the back, but you don't owe anyone anything.
Yeah.
You be you.
I think you do owe it to yourself.
You do. You owe it to you, but you don't owe it to anyone else.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, no, and like that's like completely. People are like, "Why are you doing this?" You don't have to know why you do anything, to be honest with you. I mean, as long as you're just like, I have an inkling and I want to explore it. So I guess that's a question I have for you: is how do you think people are like, I think I know who I am, but I still don't have community, or how do people go about then kind of finding out who they are?
Yeah. Self-discovery, baby. Let's get into it. All right. So
I feel like talking about this is like a Disney movie. So we're going to go on this adventure, guys.
No, truly. It is. It's its own thing. But when I talk to people about this and kind of from a therapeutic standpoint, we talk about values, we talk about emotions, we talk about likes, dislikes.
Yeah.
We talk about what makes you you. What's that special part about you that is only individual to you? And maybe you haven't found that yet, but a lot of it too is just sitting down and having open dialogue with someone. I love being able to have those open dialogues as a third party perspective.
Some people, though, can't even sit down with themselves.
No.
So I do encourage people to sit down with themselves too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times talking allows your ego to come into it as well.
Correct.
Yeah. But okay, continue with your thing.
Yeah. No, and I mean, being able to, if you can sit down and just do it with yourself, by all means. Honestly, even as a therapist, I'm going to admit that even I struggle with that. I struggle with being able to sit with myself and figure it out. I do enjoy being able to sit down with someone who can talk to me about the things that I am feeling and how important that is. A second thing too is ego. I've said this before in the on this episode, but letting go of ego is so important because oftentimes,
well, your ego was formed by things in the past, which might not be you also.
Correct.
Yeah.
But also too, it's like ego can also stem from fear.
True.
And so, because when you allow fear to control you, you allow the ability to not feel 100% of what you are going through. Because fear becomes that baseline rather than confidence, rather than happiness.
Yeah.
You know, rather than feeling of just true foundational control. And so that's another big thing I really, really I emphasize with people on is letting your ego go, letting the fear take a step aside, and really just sit with someone else or yourself and talk openly about those experiences and what you want to achieve for it. Like I said before, you don't owe anyone an explanation for anything.
Yeah.
So keep developing you.
I love that. That was so beautifully put. And on top of that too, I feel like a lot of people, if they even sit down with somebody, I do think sitting down with somebody is very valuable because a lot of times they can bring insights or little tools also to kind of dig in there and see what's underneath like the hood of you know what I mean? But also too, I feel like sometimes people, if they were like to sit down with somebody else and somebody's like, okay, so tell me about you. Once again, though, they might go down a rabbit hole of things that they thought were them, but not actually them. Or they might just literally sit there and be like, holy crap, I have no freaking idea. Yeah. You know, and that's a big eye opener right there. And that is progress moving forward. Because that is scary.
And to admit that.
Yeah.
And to admit that.
Well, admitting anything is literally the first step forward, is it not? But the reason why, and as much as we're like talking about community in this episode, the reason why I do like to tell people at least sometimes spend time with yourself is because oftentimes we are clouded a lot by the noise externally. And if you cannot sit with yourself for 12 hours and go through the dialogue in your head and be like, oh my gosh, this is driving me crazy. I hate this. That is not me. And oh, this is not driving me crazy. This might be me. Like, you're never actually going to get to your essence, if that makes sense. Like, I've heard people say, I took a 12-hour walk in the forest and just decided to be by myself. Or I just decided to this might not be that healthy, but lock myself in a room for a day and see what came up. And they're like, it's so much harder than you think. Yeah. Because we don't do that often. We don't actually allow us to listen to ourselves and what we feel. And I told you this actually, and I read this in a book, and it just hit me so hard because everyone's like, how do I know what's me, what's not me? And I'm like, I do believe a lot of times we know right off the bat what resonates with us. It's we let our logical mind oftentimes convince us otherwise, you know, because our logical mind knows everything. You know, we've gone to school, we've talked to so many people, we know everything. But the thing is your mind has been manipulated by outside influences, by other people's egos, by other people's perceptions. It's not actually 100% you. But when you listen to your heart doesn't think. Your heart just knows. So if you listen to what your heart is saying, though, it's just pure energy. It's purely you. If you listen to what that's saying instead of this, that's usually going to be right. That's usually going to be you. This doesn't have any outside influence. This isn't taking everybody else into account. That's just taking you into account. So as cliche as it does sound, I do really believe take a moment, take a breath, put this aside, put your brain aside and listen to your heart. Because that's not manipulated by anybody else. That is literally only knows you. So to me, that's a really good guiding force in how to get started. And once you listen to your heart, if it's telling you to try something, if fear does come into play, you still listen to your heart because your heart knows everything's going to be okay. You move forward and you do the thing and you see if it is for you. And a lot of times it might be. And then from there, when you put yourself in these situations that are you, You're going to attract people that are naturally you because you are vibrating at the vibration you're supposed to vibrate at. The people that are also at your level are going to come to you. And also, you're allowing yourself then to be put in situations that resonate with you. And then the people around you are going to be people who also like those situations, you know? Like, I just had an urge to, I use this all the time because I love it. And like, this is how I started growing my community, is like, I had an urge to walk into a yoga studio. And then once you are in those situations though, where you're like, okay, I took this step into me, now what? What do you think is next?
Yeah.
That's a question. What do you think is next? I know what I think, but I want to hear you.
I think, when I kind of look at figuring out what's next with people, a lot of the times, I tell people to go looking.
Yeah.
Let's go sit down. Let's figure out where it is.
Mm-hmm.
Let's figure out where that community is. Because once you kind of have a bigger idea of like identifying who you are and where you've been and what you've done, figure out where those communities are that support the things that you want to be.
But that's the thing, is when you start doing it, you just naturally run into those communities, right?
You do. Also, too, I'm a firm believer in what I like to call positive discomfort.
Okay. So what is positive discomfort?
So you were talking about it earlier with your heart.
Yeah.
You say when your heart's telling you to do something and you don't quite know if it's right or not. And I call that positive discomfort. And the reason why is because it's based off emotion. And so it's based off of feeling. So when you're trying something new, it's going to feel not comfortable. It's going to bring severe discomfort. But if you know it to be true and you feel that's a path that you're excited about taking, take it. Because in the majority of the time, like you said, your heart is right. And that's where, that's what creates a lot of those incredible moments that you get to call you.
Yeah. Isn't it so funny that I feel like finding yourself, you also feel like you lose yourself too?
You do.
Yeah.
You lose your old self.
Well, completely. Because like we can be multifaceted human beings, but you essentially cannot be two people at once. Like, you are just meant to like be you, and then essentially like you are killing off your old self. So it does get a little crazy. I've even talked about this sometimes. I'm like, it's okay. I feel like shit. I'm killing my old self. It's fine. Like, I know the new person I'm stepping into is going to be so much more brighter, so much more happy. Right now it's just temporary discomfort. And that's the thing too, is like it's scary for a lot of people sometimes, because like you do lose other people or other hobbies in your life. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, I'm losing so much, but I haven't gained this yet. So it seems like a loss and not a win. But in reality, it's not a loss, because those people and those things were never for you anyways. But now that you're moving forward to the thing that is meant for you, it's just going to feel a lot better. And that's why I also think too, is something that besides being curious, is like being open. Because yes, you can be curious and you can go to these different communities, but like you can go to an event and stand in the corner, and if you don't talk to anybody, you're not going to find anybody either necessarily. Some people might come up to you.
Yeah.
But it also takes like a conscious effort of you being like, oh, I'm going to see what other people are about here. Or even if you don't look like somebody I was used to talking to previously, because this is all new territory anyways, I'm still going to hear what you have to say and see. Because a lot of times you'd be surprised, like talking to people that it doesn't look like you would naturally talk to them, you might actually connect with them very deeply. So just being open in situations to being like, I'm going to see if this person wants to talk to me. You have to. I've literally said hi to a random person on a hike, and then they'll stop you and talk to you. And then I'm like, oh, you're my friend now. I had a yoga studio, and one of my friends, Yisra, she was like trying to find a bolster, and I'm like, oh, let me help you. And that's how we became friends. Like, it's just also being open to interacting with people and getting out of your shell and getting out of your old self. Also, in regards to that too, is something that has always confused me growing up, and now I think is so beautiful, is I've never actually ever belonged to solely one friend group. And I know that can be frustrating for people, because like, especially when you're growing up, you look at all these like cliques together and you're like, oh, that person's part of that clique and that person's part of that clique. And like, I want a clique, but like, why can't I have one? And that makes you feel discouraged that maybe you aren't meant to have a tribe, or you aren't meant to have community. But to me, that just means that like right now, I've never felt like I've had a bigger community, because once again, you can like a lot of different things and you can be a part of different communities. I feel so blessed that like when I'm hanging out with you and your boyfriend and we all go out together and like I vibe so well with all of your friends and they're my friends now. And then I hang out with like Sid and our acting group and our acting friends and they're just like family. And then I hang out with like my wellness group. You can have multiple different communities and still love every single one of them. Just because you are used to this one confined box does not mean you should stay in that box.
Yep.
That's just something I really want to like reiterate to people too, is it's just like lose your idea of what you're supposed to be doing all the time. Lose your idea of what community looks like, and you're going to find the one that's meant for you, because everybody's community is not meant to look the same. We're all meant to be different for a reason. You know what I mean? So that's my biggest thing when it comes to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let me ask you this then, because you took the risk to step out of your old self into your new self and start doing things for you. What has been your experience with you growing your community out here?
I think that when I look at my community, it's still changing. It is still growing and it's still expanding. I'm lucky enough to be in a place where I am my own boss. So I work for clients and I work with people. And because of that, then I get to like work kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
I've worked at multiple schools, I've worked at multiple organizations, I've been able to go to people's homes. And so because of that, I've been able to kind of create sub pockets of
Yeah.
different people that I've created friend groups with along the way. So it's kind of fun because now I'm at a place where I just sort of just collect people, in like
I
the
love
best
that
in
though,
the
because it
best way
just shows
possible.
community is just
It
everywhere.
is, yeah. And then like the craziest twilight zone is when you take one community of people,
Yeah.
like like Sam, my boyfriend is, a DJ and, a rock singer. And so like taking his music world
Yeah.
and then mixing it with like my world from, where I'm currently working with some
And
kids
combining,
at school
yeah.
and combining. And it's
Oh, I
the
love
coolest
that.
thing ever because you see people who have no commonalities and no similarities at all come together in the coolest way, and then they mesh and they find new things about each other, and some of them end up finding similarities with each other.
Well,
and
a lot of times,
discovering
yeah.
Yeah, and discovering new things about each other, and that's really cool. So I love being able to take my multiple groups and just kind of like bring them together.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate enough to have a home where I can kind of do that. So I've been able to do that a few times, and it's a really cool experience.
Oh my,
So,
I love that, because right there you also just squashed, like I was talking about before, everyone's just like, we have to be separated, right? Like we are the same type of people, therefore we should not be hanging out. That is so false, man.
Yeah.
Like, I just love how you said that, because it is such a beautiful thing. And that's kind of what happened in LA with this tragedy, is like so many people who are interested in so many different things and so many different backgrounds have came together and have proven that you could actually like get along, be chill, and if anything, thrive together. You know what I mean? Being a part of different communities also just, to me, makes you expand more as a person. Because learning is one of the most valuable things to me, right? Like discovering new things, new ways to be creative, new opportunities to show up for myself and other people. And when you're surrounded with other people, they bring new ideas to you. And I love also how you kind of said, I'm curious about your opinion on this, because you are fortunate enough where you do get to go out into the world and work every single day with different people, and you get to collect things, and it's easy for you to meet new people. Yeah. But I know some people right now are like probably even listening to us sitting at their desk clicking on a computer screen all day, and they're like, yeah, it's easy for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So what do you suggest with that?
Quit your job. No.
I mean,
I did.
If you're not happy,
I quit
people.
my job in Malibu. No, because I worked a 9 to 5. I worked that desk job.
Yeah.
I know what that's like. It sucks. Leave it. No, but genuinely, like, sorry, I'm just derping. No,
I
but
love that. I love that so much. Continue.
no, it's hard. I will say that my biggest thing when creating communities, when things are very stable, is what I like to say. When things are very consistent, you wake up, go to the gym, or maybe you just wake up, go right to work, come home, watch TV, go to bed. whatever your schedule is, right?
Yeah.
No matter, and there's lots of in-betweens there, but my thing is that if you look at your day-to-day schedule and you sit down, Ryan, actually your friend, who we had on our show,
Yeah.
said it best. He's like, see how long it takes to do blank.
Yeah.
Whether that be make dinner, go on a walk, whatever it is, time it. And he said, you would not believe how much of your day you can actually make available to yourself if you organize it correctly.
Also, if you believe that you're able to make that time.
And if you're able to believe you make that time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think that's where that is the biggest thing that I tell
Okay, but
people.
I'm tired. I like my time.
You do you, boo. You know what I mean?
That's the advice. Do you? I mean, I say that all the time. Do you, boo?
But I think the thing is that you're right. You can have those moments of feeling tired, but take the opportunity for yourself when you're tired to go do something new, to go try something new. Maybe it's a late night art class. Maybe it's a late night, yoga session, or maybe it's something that you can just go to the gym later at night and meet people, or maybe it's early in the morning, right? Whatever it is, finding time to do things for yourself oftentimes will just build community if you give it the opportunity.
No, it will.
Yeah.
It's like almost a for sure thing, but that's like you having to put in the effort. And my rebuttal to that is like, guys, I know that it is rough to do things sometimes and get the energy after doing a job that, like any job, if you like it, you still might be tired, but especially after doing a job that you might not be in love with. I get it. Things that aren't the hugest fan of, it will drain you. And that's also when coming to find yourself, what I like to look at, kind of backtracking, is please look at what gives you energy and what drains you, because oftentimes the things that give you energy are what you are meant to be doing and will give you a higher quality of life. Where like the things that are draining you, they're draining you for a reason. Like things will show up and manifest in your body and in your brain, showing you this is not meant for you. Back to the current thing is, the thing is once you start actually doing the thing and you have you ever been around those people that you start talking to them and you just get energy? I get it's rough at first, but wait until you go out there and meet somebody that you want to hang out with and have fun with and do these things with. I guarantee you, once you click that exit button on your screen after work, you're going to be running out of the door to go see them the next day. So the lack of energy and discomfort of getting up right now and going to do the thing, it's only temporary. And it's a good exchange for what is to come and all the energy and joy you're going to get from going out and just saying right now, I'm going to try. That's all it takes, is I'm going to try. And then see what happens. And you'd be surprised too when you go out and you're like, I'm going to be open. Letting you guys know too, to me, having the mindset I'm going to be open, I want to meet new people, and I'm going to have body language that shows I'm open to meeting people is huge. Wherever you go, you can tell that person who just does not want to be messed with, and the person who's like, they look approachable. I think they might be okay with me talking to them. So just letting you know too, if you have that mindset, I want to meet people, I'm going to do my best to be friendly, you'll probably attract somebody coming up and talking to you. But if you're just in that mindset where you're like, this is stupid, you're going to give off the energy and people are not going to want to talk to you either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's one of my little tips and tricks, I guess, when going out, is realizing what you're actually trading that temporary discomfort for right now. And then also realizing how to utilize your environment and your personality and your energy to attract people that are meant for you.
And don't be don't be fearful of it.
Yeah.
I think so many people have fear of it. It's social anxiety. I get it.
But we all have social anxiety because all of us just stay in our homes now.
Yeah.
We all just stare at the screen and we're
right?
like, oh.
But for my introverts, the social anxiety is real, and I get it. So recognize where that fear is, but recognize too what can come from that, and being able to create something new for yourself.
Yeah.
So taking that fear, setting it aside, jumping in head first, try it out. Dip your toes in if you need to, but come on, just jump in head first. See what happens. And it's one of the greatest humanistic qualities about us, is that we get to choose who we want to be. We have the ability to have free will.
Yeah.
We are lucky enough to be in a simulation. I'm just A simulation that supports it.
I
No.
mean,
No, we're lucky enough to be in a world that does support that and being able to.
I love how you just said that. Sorry. I
you
love
know.
it. Okay, sorry. I'm like mad.
Like,
you want to go down this road right now? Let's go.
No,
yeah.
but we are lucky enough to be in a place where we do get the, we're lucky enough to be in a place where we get to achieve that. And so it's a lot of fun to do.
I mean, everybody essentially is in that place where they can, unless maybe, I don't know if you live in Antarctica and you're listening to this. I don't know, is Antarctica populated? I don't know. I digress. So, I don't think it is. Anyways, I digress. But that's the thing, though, also is how we talked about in the middle of this podcast too, is being yourself will make you also make friends. Is if you are socially awkward or you're in fear, when you go up and talk to somebody, like, kind of admit that too. There's nothing to it. And then if you feel like, oh my gosh, oh, sorry, I'm like, just, hey, I'm a little nervous. I don't know why. Whenever somebody tells me that, I'm just like, I want to like take them under my wing then and be like, oh, I used to be nervous and now I can't shut up. So please, like, let's talk a little, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of times you would be surprised how often when you're just authentic in yourself, people are like, oh, I get that, man. Because I've kind of like been there too, where I can relate, or hey, at least like I see you. Yeah. Like you can tell when somebody's like not being themselves. I don't know what it is, especially like I call it a sixth sense. Like all humans kind of have it in a way. You just look at somebody and you're like, there's something, I don't know, man. And you tend to linger away from them. Just be who you are. Like people love authenticity. And if anything, like that gives you a sense of like yourself and community in yourself, but it'll help you attract what's meant for you. Absolutely. So you're right, be brave. Can you describe the feeling of having community, just emotionally? Stop giving us experiences. Just how do you feel when you are surrounded by the people now that actually resonate with you?
It feels kind. And I think there's something really special about that. It's a sense of kindness and care that I love about the people that are in my life. Mm-hmm. And I think that is one of like the most important qualities that I consistently look for in all my communities. Yeah. At the end of the day is support and kindness.
I love that.
But what about you though?
My biggest thing that just hits my heart so deeply is when I'm just in a room of people, and because I've been in plenty of rooms where I feel alone in them, or like I'm like, there was points in my life where I'm like, I literally just think I'm my own person. I've been told that I am a unique individual my entire life. Maybe I'm just not for anybody, you know? And just because I'm unique does not mean that I'm not for anybody at all. It just means that I bring more uniqueness to these groups and the communities full of other unique people. But and to me, it's just looking around a room in like the most humble of moments. Literally, like when we were watching a movie with Barkley, like and the blow up, like it's just looking around and being like, man, I love these people. Like it just makes my heart glow so much. Also knowing that I am supported, which is something that's huge. But also I have to count my blessings in a little moment where you would be so surprised how many times I'm just like, somebody will pop up in my head now. Like something I'm watching is reminding me of them, something I drive past. And I just feel so grateful. Yeah. Like I'll be even by myself. And instead of feeling alone, I'll remember somebody and I'm like, it just feels like my heart's on fire. Like I get all warm and gushy and I'm like, man, I am so grateful that I've met these people, and I would have never met them unless I decided to meet myself first. And that's just, I don't know, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah. You know? So, yeah, that's it. But thank you for sharing your experience.
Of course.
Yeah, and thank you guys for listening. Please reach out. We want to create our own little community here too. Yeah. And you guys can all be a part of it. And please go searching for yourself. And I kind of just think this entire world is one big community. Can we make it that way? Yeah. Can we all just support each other and love each other and be there and like grow? You know, step outside your comfort zone, support somebody else and go find somebody to support you.
Truly.
Yeah. Until next time, you guys, I love you.
And with that, keep shining your light.